Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another Fool's Gold review of the DC Future State. And this time we are going to be covering Dark Detective and Justice League. And here's how things run with this. This is how I rate it, and also how much I think it's worth. As you can see there, as this is $5.99, this is $10.75 in Australian dollars, and it's also the same for the Justice League one. And out of that, I practically give my thoughts on how much I think that this comic is worth. You might think differently, and that's 100% fine with me. So, let's get moving on to the first review. So, starting off with the cover. Does the cover actually show what really happens in story in relation to this story? Care of Tamaki. Fool's Gold, big fat no. And in that, it actually scored a 3 out of 10 from me, which brings it up to about 70 cents. That's how much I thought it was worth. Very disappointing. It is nice in appearance, but it doesn't really 100% match the story. Let's move into the internal art in regards to the story. As you can see, this is something towards the beginning. I'll now move quickly to something towards the end of the story. And this is up towards the end of the story. Now, seeing that there are two stories in this, I'll move on to the second story as I finish off the art and the story rating. For the art, I thought it was worth about a 5. It was pretty mediocre. It wasn't terribly strong, but it wasn't terribly weak either. And this is where I think the art is worth about $1. Just $1. In regards to the story, we've got, of course, the key location being Gotham, and the key characters being Bruce Wayne, who also appears as Batman within the story, and Peacekeeper. It was quite interesting. You get to see the appearance of Peacekeeper doing something to Batman, but it didn't come off as a very strong story. I liked a little of the narration, but it still needed time to allow the art to breathe, to tell the story. So, let's move on to the second story, to which actually deals with Grifter. Of course, the key person in that is Grifter, and it takes place in Gotham. I'll now show some art around the story. Okay, this is some of the art from the story, and I must admit, I felt the same in regards to the art, in regards to the last story. It felt mediocre. It didn't come off as strong as it was meant to come off, and in that, it got a 5 out of 10. Now, back to Grifter's main story, you get to follow the character of Grifter and what he's doing in his part of Gotham, as well as some of the people that he encounters. And it just did not come off as strong as the last one, but the story was a little bit better compared to the last one. And in that, it got a 4 out of 10. So in that, it was worth about 90 cents. And I really enjoyed that. It wasn't the best, but it was okay. Time to move on to the next. So now we finally move into the Justice League. And starting off with the cover, it's a 5 out of 10. It sort of does match which happens inside of the story. Let's move to the art. This is some of the internal art towards the beginning of the story. I'll now show you something around midway for this one, not towards the end. It will give away a spoiler, especially if you haven't read this book yet. As you can see, it did sort of hold up in some of the consistency within the art, which was really quite nice. And to which I gave the art rating of a 5 out of 10. To which again, it's worth about $1. Time to move on to the story itself. Right, moving on to the story rating, some of the cast of characters and locations that turn up are, of course, the Hall of Justice and Amnesty Bay. The first times that they appear in this future state run. Of course, we have Yara Flor, John Samuel Kent, Superboy, to which his characterization was quite alright. I wouldn't give it the best characterization, but it was alright. Of course, we've got Green Lantern, Flash, and a couple of the others there. But if I were to tell you about the spoiler, it would probably ruin the comic for you. So this is where I gave the story a 5 out of 10. So very mediocre story. There were some small things I liked in it, and there were other things I didn't quite like in it. Because there were things at the beginning that didn't feel properly established. Moving on to the second story. Justice League Dark. Now this is some art for the beginning of the story, and it was actually really nice, and it fitted the environment and the scene within the story, and I really enjoyed it. I will show you some towards the end. I will say one thing, this was really enjoyable, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of this. To which I gave the art 7 out of 10, to which I believe the story is worth, to which I believe the art is worth $1.50. Now, moving into the story, we had the cast of characters of Zatanna, Ragman, plus a whole list of others, including Dr. Fate, John Constantine, and I really enjoyed their characterization in this story. We went to some town. What was it called? Oh, sorry about this. I'm going to have to re-look it up again. They went to a place called Cardboard Town, and I enjoyed what they were also giving in the story to give world building. And this is where the story of this got 7 out of 10, and I really enjoyed what was done here. So a big thanks to those who worked on this story. Until then, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until hit the notification bell if you enjoyed the content. Let's keep it colourful. Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another Fool's Gold Future State review, and this time we will be covering Superman Wonder Woman, which has John Samuel Kent and Yara Flor, and Kara Zor-El Superwoman. As you can see over here, this is how I rate my system. 1 out of 10, and also how much I think it's worth. As you can see, these titles are both $3.99, to which they would be $7.15 in Australian dollars. So let's get started on the first review, being Superman and Wonder Woman. So, starting off with the cover, I really enjoyed this cover as to how well it also worked with the story. And for that, this cover got an instant 7 out of 10 from me. Especially in relation into how it worked with the story as well as the art of the story. So, let's move into some art to show you why I enjoyed it. Now, this is towards the beginning of the book, and about the only thing that I would sort of criticize here on the art is that why does John sort of look Asian here? He's alien from Krypton plus human, and since when was Lois Lane Asian? Yeah, it doesn't quite work with the story. It could be better, but that's my only criticism. And of course, we see an introduction into one of the next places we'll be going to. But I'll cover that when I get to the story. Now, let's move towards some art around midway in the story. If it's one thing I want to point out as well, is this story actually felt that it took place before Superman of Metropolis. And that's what I get from the feeling in this story. So basically before Brainiac Brain Cells turns up in Superman of Metropolis. And this is where I think DC needs to be a little accurate into putting out these stories in a bit of a chronological order. But I did enjoy this art, to which I gave the art a 7 out of 10, to which I believe the story was worth $1.50. Now to move on to the story itself. Now, with the story, the cast of characters that we meet up are John Samuel Kent, Superman, and Yara Flora, Wonder Woman, as well as Solaris, who sort of comes off as the antagonist, almost as supervillain. Didn't really feel like it after Yara Flora and Superman, John Samuel Kent, went up against the character. Some of the locations that were explored in this were Metropolis, Sao Paulo, Brazil, which I thought was a really nice addition to the story. And of course, outside of Earth's orbit, to which we see Solaris, who is like a living sun. It's very similar to, I think it's similar to that planet in the Green Lantern animated series that's also alive. Forgive me if I can't remember its location or its name. But I really did like this story. I would like to bring up that this would work as a really nice Superman Beyond story for John Samuel Kent. And for that, I am also giving the story a 7 out of 10, to which I also believe it was worth $1.50, giving a round total of $4.50. Time to move on to Superwoman. Now, as we move on to Superwoman, Kara Zor-El, Superwoman, this cover is amazing. Marguerite Bennett I'm not too sure if you're the one who got to choose to be your artist on this, but this was beautiful. To which I give the cover art an 8 out of 10. To which I believe it's worth $1.75. Let's move on to the internal art. Now, this is towards the beginning of the story. I'll now move to an area towards the end of the story, and I'll give my review or my rating on the art. The art in this actually felt pretty consistent, but in a way almost type psychedelic. Not completely, but it was still nice, it was still fun, and it was still enjoyable. To which I gave the art also a 7 out of 10. Making the art worth $1.50. Moving on to the story. The cast of characters that we meet in this are, of course, Kara Zor-El, Superwoman, and of course a new character by the name of Lanari. And we also get an encounter of some people in relation to Lanari too. The key locations in this were the moon and outside of Earth's solar system, and there was also a star swamp asteroid in visitation, to which I really enjoyed. I felt this too also felt it would work well in a Superwoman Beyond story by Marguerite Bennett. And I want to say thank you very much, Marguerite Bennett, because Kara Zor-El felt so feminine in this, and it's good to see a female writer working on a female character, because her appearance, it just gave off, it's not that I am woman, but she is a caring female character that is worried about what's happening on Earth. And you can see that this story takes place after Superman of Metropolis, and she's working on basically saving people, gathering refugees, but in the process as well, she helps someone with a little bit of weakness on their own, as well as looking to her own weaknesses. And she feels sad for the loss of Crypto, the Kryptonian dog that belonged to Superman, Lois Lane, of course John Samuel Kent, and also her too. And you get that in the story. So I want to thank you very much for this story. Until then, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Until then, let's keep it colourful. Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for the next lot of Future State Fool's Gold for review. And as you can see, this is my rating system as I rate the cover, the art and the story, how much they deserve in rating, plus how much I think they're worth, including total for the artist as well as the writer. And in regards to currency conversion, as this is $3.99 in US dollars, it's $7.15 in Australian dollars. So let's start off with reviewing Future State Teen Titans issue 1. Now, starting off with the cover, does the cover really work in relation to the story? In regards to this, it actually does, because you do get to see what is on the cover also within the story. To which I gave the cover a rating of 6.5 out of 10, to which I believe the story was, to which I believe the cover was worth $1.25. Let's move into the internal art. I'll cover beginning, middle, and end. Now this is some art at the beginning. As you can see, it's really nicely done, especially in regards to Dick Grayson's costume, and also Emiko, who is behind him. Now to the middle. As you can see, this is some of the art around the middle, to which we also see some of the new characters within this series, as well as some old. And it's really good to see here. The art was alright for this part of the story. It was trying to bring off a sort of dark future in regards to what's happening here. Let's move towards the end. I must admit, seeing this part in the story was really nice to see, and a bit of a bright spark of hope in relation to the story. So for the art got 7 out of 10. Oh, hold on, correction. That's for that's for the next review. Yes, it did get 7 out of 10. Worth $1.50. Now I'll move on to the story. Now moving on to the story, we had quite a number of the cast of characters in this, and it was nice to see Nightwing, Emiko, of course, Beast Boy, Cyborg, the Flash, and a whole list of other characters, including Raven, and a sort of Beast Boy, of course, Shazam, Bunker towards the end. Some of the locations that we went to in this were, of course, Titans Tower in New York City. We also went to a Titan safe place, which was held in Queens, and we also went to Detroit. It was nice to see that in the world building, but how did it work story-wise? Well, there was quite a bit happening within the story, and even around things around the character of Red X. Now, one thing that this story does, it sort of gives the impression that it makes you want to think that Red X is Damian Wayne, because there is a scene to which you do see this Red X holding 2 swords, but that doesn't mean it's Damian Wayne. It could be someone completely different who also has a very similar skill set to maybe Damian Wayne. You do get to see that there is a connection between Nightwing and Red X, as well as Red X's connection towards Rachel, who is Raven. Now, were they actually love interests? I got no idea. Maybe so, maybe not. To which I gave the story a 5 out of 10. To which I believe the story was worth $1. It was mediocre. It wasn't strong. To which gives us the total of $3.75. Time to move on to Robin Eternal. As we make our way towards Robin Eternal, this cover, did it 100% completely match which was happening within the story? Yes, no, to which I gave it a 5 out of 10, to which I believe the story, to which I believe the cover art was worth $1. Now, take note of that currency conversion, or remember about the currency conversion for this, and how it plays in regards to how much I think that this story is worth, compared to how much it's actually worth. Now, moving into the internal art. This is one thing I did like. Now, this is towards the beginning of the story, and as you can see here, we've got Tim Drake coming out of camouflage in order to attack what appears to be like a sentinel that is seeking to take out masked members. And it's very fun here, it's very enjoyable, but you can see a lot of seriousness in what he's doing here. I'll now bring you to about the middle of the book. Now, as we move to the middle of the book, we actually see Tim Drake catch up with someone who used to be a part of the We Are Robin crew, to which was sort of covered in the New 52 days. But the thing is, the writer here is telling a bit of a fib. Because I've read the We Are Robin trades. And yes, he did meet Darcy, but in regards to what happened in the story, she wasn't his number one pick. And this is where the story sort of slips. But I will bring up one thing. I did actually enjoy this sort of like human interaction within the story. And that's why I enjoyed the art, especially in this part, and gave it the rating to which I gave it. I will now move towards the end of the book to show the art there. Okay, this is something in relation towards the end, and as you can see, we've got Stephanie Brown, Batgirl, plus Robin in a bit of a cheeky situation, to which their lives are pretty much on the line. The art was pretty nice here, it was pretty consistent, and that's why it led to the art rating of a 7 out of 10, to which I believe the art was worth $1.50. I'll now move into the story. Moving into the story, the key cast of characters we have Tim Drake as Robin, Stephanie Brown as Batgirl, not so much spoiler in this, but as Batgirl, and of course Darcy, to which we learn that she knows sign language, and they use sign language as a way to try to stop the magistrate system from working out what they're saying. But the thing is, I can't see the magistrate being that stupid. Especially if they're meant to be like a big time new villain moving into the territory. I really can't see them being that stupid, because they would have access to files that would be able to decode the sign language. Especially in their surveillance. Now, some of the locations that we go to are, of course, we stay in Gotham City, and we also visit an office, of course, one of the places to which this Lazarus resin is, which is also seen and spoken about in the book. For the story rating, it felt mediocre, and therefore it got the same rating for story as the Teen Titans one, which is a 5 out of 10, and giving us an overall title of $3.50. Until then, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Until then, let's keep it colourful.